Hey, welcome into 1500ESPN.com. Matthew Coller here, Judd Zulgad as well. And we are on day 2, just about to take the practice field here in Mankato of training camp. And Judd, what stuck out to you in day 1?
What stuck out to me in day 1 was actually who wasn't there for most of practice. Left tackle Riley Reef left early from practice in day 1. His injury status is unknown, but what it did is it served as a reminder that you can replace your left and right tackle, but the question becomes this: who are your backups? Rashad Hill, who was on the Jacksonville practice squad last year until he was plucked off by the Vikings during the course of a season in which TJ Clemmings, for some unknown reason, continued to start again and again and again. Rashad Hill, who finally got a chance to play in Week 17, and looks like he might be a nice player, but this whole thing basically reminded me of, why haven't the Vikings gone out, Matthew Coller, and signed a veteran swing tackle to, if something happens to Remmers or Reef, to play that spot? I get the fact that Spielman likes to be creative, and I get the fact that, given his druthers, he would like to keep young players and not veterans who aren't going to play. But this is not an ascending, nice little Vikings team. This is a team with aspirations of going back to the team that won the division title 2 years ago. And didn't you learn the lesson last year that if you get Riley Reef hurt during the course of the season and you have to call in the 2017 Jake Long, he's eating bonbons on his couch and he's probably fat and it's going to take him weeks to get ready. Why not have that veteran tackle ready to go? I'm not saying he's got to be a great player, but he at least could be serviceable.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I don't know why, other than just having confidence in Rashad Hill, that they didn't go out and try to find someone else, and that could still be on the way. There are a number of veterans who are still out on the market that have not found their place yet, but when Riley Reef went down, and here comes Rashad Hill, a guy with 1 total game of experience in the NFL, and sure, it was a good game, and maybe he's a guy they really like, but that's not the same as playing multiple games and trying to really fill in at that position. And Reef, though he's had a history pretty good with his health, he hasn't been a guy that's been hurt a lot. Anybody can get hurt anytime, and if you don't have,
last year, both your tackles got hurt. That's exactly right.
And if you don't have him in there, I think the drop-off to Hill is probably going to be quite a bit, especially in that pass protection game. Although he got some good experience yesterday, training camp, going up against Everson Griffin.
This is
That's
true.
A little bit different than Week 17 against the Chicago Bears.
Oh, come on, that Bears team was tough, and the guy was hanging from the rafters, and nobody watched that football game because we were all watching the guy hanging from the rafters.
Yes, that's right. Now, when it comes to Anthony Barr, he had some very interesting comments for the media yesterday, talked about his effort, and then George Edwards brought that up again today. And I'm curious, Judd, to see how this plays out. If there's a reason that they're talking about his effort and maybe trying not to talk about some of the shortcomings of last year in his game, maybe in his coverage or in them stopping the run using Anthony Barr. But why do you think that they would go the direction of talking about his effort and then have him bring it up too? That was really surprising to me.
Conspiracy theory for you, possibly.
Okay, you love these.
Zimmer is the one who broached Barr's effort late last year. And okay, let's just go down the path of saying perhaps he didn't play his best and he's to fault for some of that. Do you think the coaching staff also very quietly could have gone to him and said, Anthony, in truth, we misused you. We miscast you a bit. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to say you didn't try as hard as we possibly would have liked, but in reality, we're also going to come back and use you correctly. I think if Anthony Barr's used right, it could be a nightmare. I mean, if you deal
in
with,
a good way.
Yes, yeah, a nightmare for opponents in the sense that if you're dealing with Griffin and Hunter and Joseph, and let's say Barr all of a sudden is used a lot to pressure the quarterback, but if they come back and say, well, we got big plans for Barr, you're alerting the masses to something that you don't want to. Do you think there's a chance that while the effort story might be partially true, it's also the cover for the fact that they're going to bring this guy back, use him correctly, and he could at that point become a Pro Bowl player again?
I definitely think that that's a possibility. Because he struggled so much in coverage, that there is a chance they're going to decide to use him much more in the rushing game, going after the passer. But why would you want to let everybody know that?
You wouldn't.
Oh, yeah, when we get out week 1, here's exactly what we're going to do with one of our...
It's going to be a left end on this one. Right? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, right. Here's what we're going to do schematically against you. They always tend to throw a misdirection, and maybe that's what Anthony Barr is trying to get at. Though convincing a player to tell the media that he wasn't trying that hard last year, that seems like a hard thing to do, which was really surprising for me to hear Anthony Barr talk about it.
You brought up a good point on the show today. Of all the players on this team, he is one of the most difficult to read.
Yes.
Like, I know nothing about this guy.
Very quiet.
Him bringing up effort shocked me because he ordinarily tells you nothing. And the weird thing about it is I can't see him just deciding, well, today I'm going to talk about the fact that last year I didn't work hard. It almost seems calculated. But as far as Barr goes, I have no read on him as far as personality. You know, defensive players you can always or often get a read on because they're really passionate football players and they can't help themselves. This is a guy who's sort of odd. So I do wonder, though, if somehow this is all calculated. And if Barr comes back and plays the way he should, you're talking about a guy who's going to get paid in a big way, not only in 2018, but that second contract could be massive.
Yeah, and Rick Spielman did talk about contract extensions for players and guys they might be working with. Anthony Barr's name would naturally be on that list.
Sure.
All right, Judd, as they get into pads, not today, but as we go forward, who's the top of your list? Who are you going to be watching the closest when they get into pads?
I will give you one on each side of the ball. How about that? Laquan Treadwell. Treadwell is going to have a magnificent chance within the first 4 games when Floyd is suspended, starting in this training camp to prove that last year was a fluke.
Real quick, he was on the first team all of yesterday, had a very good first day.
And he's going to get a great chance to prove that last year was a fluke, that he was hurt, and that he was a deserving first-round pick, which right now he certainly didn't look like he was. Offensively, he's my top one. Defensively, Mackenzie Alexander, who, if I'm not mistaken, did have a pick on day 1 of training camp.
He did, yes.
But that, I just keep coming back to it, Coller. That nickelback position is so incredibly important, and I can't help but thinking that the Vikings shortchanged it a little bit here. But if he proves me wrong, they could be in good shape.
I'm going to be keeping an eye on Rodney Adams to see if he can emerge as this year's 5th-round pick wide receiver. We've heard that story before, right, with Stephon Diggs. If he can be that guy who emerges as an intriguing part of the offense, if he can get it down and potentially on special teams as well. On the defensive side, maybe even Jaleel Johnson is a guy to watch, a 4th-round draft pick. And seeing how he adjusts to going up against some guys who have been in the NFL before. And I'll throw in another one, Pat Elflein. I'm keeping a very close eye on Pat Elflein as well. If he can win the job of the starting center, they've talked him up a ton, but they're still playing Nick Easton when it comes to practice.
True.
So can he emerge and take over that job? That's what we'll be watching for. The Judd will be down here again next Wednesday?
Yep, we'll be doing the Mackey and Judd show Wednesday through Friday of next week down here.
Beautiful. And more Purple podcasts at 1500ESPN.com, and I'll be doing some recaps as well as some features and everything that you're looking for from training camp here in Mankato. We'll catch you next time.